Hello, everybody. My name is Ariel, and I'm from an organization called the Sword of Gideon. And together with OCT7, we are here to present to you the troubling issue of how to protect your city hall. This pressing matter is actually quite urgent, and I want to, in this presentation, not only expose you to the breadth of this expansion of this phenomena. This is worldwide. I also want to give you some tools and some updates on how to address this matter. So let me start by sharing my screen. I want to show you what we're dealing with. So this issue is called subnationalism, and I want to show you what does it mean and how to fight it. I want you to first imagine a city like San Diego, California, severing its ties with Israeli sister cities. Just imagine that the city also passes a resolution to twin itself with Gaza City. They are now sister cities. Imagine the city divesting millions of dollars from Israeli companies. Imagine it breaking ties with companies and institutions which recognize Israel, which work with Israel and collaborate with Israel. And imagine it creating apartheid free zones, zones in which shops and stores refrain from purchasing or selling products from Israel. But now I want you to imagine this expanding throughout California. Many or even most California cities doing this. And I multiply this throughout the United States. And I want to tell you that this is not only restricted to the United States, imagine this being worldwide, throughout the West, Europe, Australia, Canada, South America. Everybody starts doing this and over again. And now I want you to stop imagining because this is what we're facing. This is the reality on the ground right now. What are we dealing with? This is the backdoor strategy of the BDS movement, the BDS shadow network. And I want to tell you that even the term BDS, it's like a whitewashing of the term Hamas or terrorism. When these guys can't win in national politics, they go local, right? They infiltrate city halls and they target mayors and council members. They pressure local leaders into passing international declarations and binding policies. Many times they have very little resistance, if any, right? So that's how they are able to turn cities into pawns in those global conflicts and sidestepping the democratic national process entirely. But this is nothing new. This has been ramping up in the last 2 years, but it's not new. This has been happening since the early 2000s. And this shadow network has launched an aggressive city by city campaign, one municipal vote at a time. And their goal is to launder the legitimacy for extremist groups. They want to bypass national law. They want to funnel symbolic and real resources, and they radicalize city politics from the bottom up. And also, something very important to note that since we're talking about individual cities, this doesn't make the national news, not to mention, international news. So practically nobody knows, and this goes under the radar. So let's see what's happening in your city now. I want to give you a task. Open a new tab and type Action Network, either Gaza or Palestine, in the name of your city. And you will be surprised to see what you find out. All right. You can do this now. You can do this later, but make sure to check what's happening in your city because you'll be surprised. I want to tell you that these groups are highly organized. So we were surprised to see how armed they are with mobile apps, with scripted speeches. They have their traveling operatives. They have buses full of activists unloading at city halls, in council member meetings. It's amazing. Everybody has the same signs. Everybody has the same scripts. They have it on their mobile phones. They have precise instructions on what to say, who to turn to, how to bird dog and harass the politicians and the council members, who most of them are doing this as a side job. They're not accustomed to being bombarded with emails, with WhatsApp, with people waiting for them at their homes, at their jobs. So they learn how to avoid being arrested and what to do if they do get arrested. All these things are happening simultaneously in various cities around the world. And this shadow network, this BDS, works in two main ways. The first is twinning and sister city partnerships with Gaza and other cities, other Palestinian cities. So they have this hidden agendas. They are sneaky by framing this as a cultural thing, as an aid or humanitarian partnership. But at the end of the day, their goal or their function is to grant legitimacy, access, and gain budgets that can help them to use it for terror and uh, radicalized reasons. So this is not only a problem of each city individually. They're basically doing this in order to bypass the national policy. These agreements often circumvent national foreign policy and accountability. They use and make the city resources and reputation and even public funds as a tool in their toolkit in the broader campaign that they're seeking to advance. Ideological infiltration. So once adopted, obviously, these partnerships can push city-sponsored events, funding, school exchanges, city branding even. Everything is going to be filtered through an ideological screen of these bad actors, of this BDS movement. And technically, it's the Hamas terrorists and their supporters, so they're able to stop pro-Israel rallies. They're able to enhance their own agendas. Just as a side note, just so that you can see, this is not new, but how prevalent this is. And this is not a comprehensive list, but just a sample of cities who have already twinned with other cities in Palestine, whether it's Gaza or Jericho, Ramallah, Nablus, and this is going on and on. And as you can see, this is ramping up and becoming more and more prevalent. And I want to explicitly explain the repercussions of twinning, because I thought twinning is such a cute thing. It's just a declaratory kind of a thing. It's nice. Oh no. When a city twins with Gaza, you have to understand, first of all, it allows the transfer of funds. Some people think that the funds might go to the people of Gaza to help in a humanitarian manner, but no, this goes directly to the ruling entity, which is Hamas, right? So this is a way for Hamas to gain more money, more funds directly from your city, from your taxpaying money. Right? Secondly, and many people don't get this, but this is also a way to transfer people. It's not only transfer of funds, also transfer of people. So maybe some Hamas operatives can't get a visa on their own as tourists to go into the United States, but when they are a part of a joint project or a mission with a city in the United States, you might be seeing Hamas officials headed your way, coming to your kids' school even, right? We have to understand the repercussions of twinning. And as I mentioned earlier, the transfer of resources. Stuff can be not only in terms of finances, but projects, people, reputation, assets, all sorts of stuff can start transferring from your city to Hamas. There's a letter here, just as an example, from the mayor of Gaza City, which is a Hamas elected official, to the mayor of a U.S. city asking the two cities to be twinned. All right. The other way that they're operating is through city council resolutions. So one of the most important things that they're trying to achieve is the targeted divestment from Israeli companies. They want to pass divestment motions, calls to withdraw city funds or pension investments from any company that does business with Israel. And bear in mind, we start moving from keeping the aim as pensions and investments. The purpose of it is being to grow the portfolio, to have as much money as possible in the pension at the end of the day. When this is not the purpose, this is actually hurting every city employee that has a pension or a 401k in which the city council has the ability to direct the investment policy. When this direction goes off the rail and basically is not directed towards enhancing the value of the portfolio, that's where the problems occur. And they also strive at getting public condemnations, right? Solidarity declarations, official statements denouncing the Israeli policy. These are all designed to isolate and delegitimize Israel in the public sphere. Boycott by culture, all right? Cultural, educational, and symbolic boycotts like denials of cooperation with Israeli artists, academics, and civil society organizations. This is extremely important to understand. And their strategy is this. They first come to a city and they start pushing the council members. If someone gives in and a resolution is passed in their favor, people might expect for them to go away because they got what they want, but that's exactly what's not going to happen. Quite the opposite is going to happen. Then they will double down. They will start pushing more and more for more resolutions because the door has been opened. They got their foot through the door. When a city is able to withstand this and not pass any such resolutions, and again, I will show you how, and I'll give you some tips on what to do and tools, but when a city is able to push back on that, they will simply move on to the next city, right? So we have to understand this strategy. It's very aggressive, but once a city gives in and tries to appease them, then the trouble starts. And I want to show you how it looks like, because sometimes, or maybe you got the impression that, they're coming. I define them as aggressive, but no, they are aggressive in their approach. They're not aggressive in the language that they use, because they disguise themselves with very soft language like anti-war, environmentally conscious, or pro-peace. Behind these words lies a coordinated strategy to pressure and overwhelm politicians into compliance. They show up, sometimes they will show up as BDS explicitly, but sometimes they will show up as different NGOs altogether with all sorts of fluffy names, and it looks ethical, it sounds peaceful, but it's nothing more than a tactical mask for the same agenda. I just paste in one example here by Code Pink saying, seed peace with the local peace economy. Just imagine every average council member, if somebody comes up to him and say, why don't you devise an investment strategy which is a peace economy or environmentally conscious in its strategy, who would say no to that? Who knows that behind the scenes, they are devising a list of companies who are directly related to Israel that they're trying to divest from? So in practical terms, what they do is they create a lot of toolkits. These are extensive files which basically instruct the activists on what to do, what to say, who to turn to. Many languages, because as I mentioned, this is worldwide. This is happening globally. This is so organized. They are so well thought of, and it's working for them because they can reproduce this and multiply the effect simultaneously in various cities. But I want you to remember, and don't get confused, these are the same people who chant death to America, who burn the American flags. These are the same people. So they, disguise themselves as pro-peace, but these are the ones undermining everything that we cherish, all the Western values. And as I mentioned, this is happening throughout the world. This is happening in Australia, for example, here. This is an example in Australia where they explicitly say we want to put pressure on the federal government via our local councils. All right. So where are we in this picture? We have to realize this is the time to move from something which is considered cute or nice, like twinning cities. That was my original thought of what the term means, to understanding that this is critical. Most people see the twin city alliances as something harmless, it's just like a declaration, with zero awareness that it's a part of a bigger plan threatening our Western way of life. And it's time for us all to treat City Hall as a battlefield. So they've moved through the city halls with little resistance until now. So now is the time to speak up at every opportunity, wake the sleepers, and rally the awakened ones to stop them in their tracks. I want to show you how we do this. So we have a joint mission. We have to stop subnationalism at the roots. What we do is first we expose their strategy. Okay, their local moves rarely make the news. As I mentioned, this goes under the radar. That's why it's so efficient for them. We first have to expose this strategy. Talk about this at every opportunity that you get. Publish it on your social media. Talk to your friends, neighbors. Start understanding what's going on and then informing the public. This is also something that we do. We reach city residents and inform them of what's happening inside their council. I want to emphasize these guys try to divest from Israel, but this is not a matter of Israel versus Palestine or Gaza or Hamas. This is a matter that should be of interest to any resident of any city in the world because their funds are being directed from being invested in their school system or from fixing the hole in the road to investing in some terror organization in the Middle East. Every person should be concerned. Every such neighbor of yours should be aware of that this is happening in their city hall. All right, so we have to reach the city residents and inform them of what's happening. And the best strategy that we found up till now was to keep the city halls local. That's the point. We want to ensure that the decisions serve the community, not outside agents. Okay, or outside agendas. So at the end of the day, a council member is elected to their position in order to keep in mind the purpose is to enhance the city or fix its problems. Focus on the city that he's supposed to serve, not some international problem or somewhere in the Middle East. This should not be of their concern. And that's why I want to show you how a win looks like. All right. So this is a real quote from a city councilwoman who was also running for mayor when she said, "We have the responsibility to address issues that directly impact the lives of our constituents. And by diverting our attention to international conflicts, we risk neglecting the pressing needs of all of those residents who have entrusted me as a representative." And at the end of the day, when a council member or when the council itself reaches such a conclusion, these BDS activists know that they have to move on. This city will not give in. All right, so this is how a win looks like. And I want to show you, I want to tell you that we are here for you in order to help you personally achieve this goal. I've put here the link of our website, theswordofgideon.org, or you can email us directly at info@theswordofgideon.org. What we do is we will be able to give you a toolkit and coach you through how to do this in your city and how to get additional support. And we bring the information from everything that was effective throughout the world to your city and to your fingertips, basically. So we are here for you. I hope this was insightful for you. I hope that you understand how worrying it is, how troubling it is, and why we must fight it, and we must do so now. So be in touch with us, and we will help you win this one as well.